So you figured out by now that you'll be reading and writing a lot of argumentative essays in this class. But for this assignment, you get a break from thesis, claims, and evidence. Instead, we want you to write a narrative essay to tell us a story. So why are we giving you this screwy assignment? Well, these essays are going to be more fun to read, but we actually have two other objectives, and they're both related to helping you write a strong synthesis essay. We'll be talking a lot more about the structure of the synthesis essay the coming week, and for that matter throughout the whole year. But here's what the question will look like on your AP exam. Lots of the same old, same old. You need to come up with a well-reasoned argument, which will include a thesis, claims, and supporting evidence, and you'll take at least some of that as evidence from the documents. But take a look at the words I've underlined in purple. Your own perspective. To use a phrase I like better, these essays should reveal your personal voice. And one way to do that is to connect the themes in the documents with your own experience. Now, the documents we'll be giving you for this unit synthesis essay all have to do with young people and rebellion. To help you find your personal voice and explore your own attitudes toward youthful rebellion, we want you to think back on a time when you were really irritated by a person in a position of authority. Maybe you fought back. Maybe you put up and shut up. Maybe you came up with some really creative way to get even. But don't reflect on the experience. Tell us a story. To do that, I want you to first think about the stories that you enjoy. These are stories that show, don't tell. The authors employ action and dialogue and vivid description to reveal what the characters are thinking and feeling. We've put two examples of short rebellion narratives on Moodle. One is the reaping scene from The Hunger Games, when Katniss volunteers to fight in her sister's place. The second is an article that the disembodied voice, aka Mrs. McConnell, wrote and somehow got published when I was 22. I wrote this narrative in one frantic night, right after I'd returned from a conference for student recipients of a Grant Danforth Fellowship for Graduate Study. If you read this, you'll see I was pretty furious at the grown-ups who'd organized this conference, and I vented my fury, well, simply by telling the story of what happened. It's all true, by the way. I took careful notes at the time. But with a distance of 40-plus years, I'm going to admit to you that in the article I sound smug, snarky, and very young. Neither of these narrative examples is assigned. No study guides, no quizzes, but we thought you might find it helpful to see examples of what we mean by narrative. The essay requirements are explained on your assignment sheet with more detail. You also have the grading rubric we'll be using, which reflects these requirements. So let me just close by explaining a little more of what I mean by the last two bullets. 1/4 of the grading rubric for the synthesis essay is labeled Apply Conventions. In plain English, this means your writing should be clear and mostly free of grammar, spelling, and punctuation errors. So, don't blow my mind, okay? But style involves more than just avoiding mistakes. Strong writing is going to help you raise your score on every line of the rubric, and for that matter is worth learning for any number of reasons. For this assignment, we are focusing on 3 elements of strong writing, elements that we think may be easier to practice when you're writing a narrative essay than when you're writing an argumentative essay. 2 of these fit under the general category of diction, which is just English teacher speak for smart word choice. More precise and specific nouns really liven up your writing. And you see some examples here, which I stole from the internet. Another way to liven up your writing is by using active and precise verbs, what Mr. Hauser likes to call power verbs. Precise nouns and power verbs also help you avoid piling on adjectives and adverbs, which is a common writing mistake that good students make. The third element of good writing that we're going to be looking for in these essays is using the active as opposed to the passive voice. I think the clearest way to explain this is with an example. So, here is active voice. Spider-Man crushed the Green Goblin. Spider-Man is the subject and leads off the sentence. Similarly, Homer devoured the donut. Homer's the actor. And here's a passive voice version. The Green Goblin was crushed by Spider-Man. Should have had a period there, sorry. The donut was devoured by Homer. Notice that the sentence is weakened by putting the subject at the end. So, once again, don't mess with me. I'm not going to go over basic writing conventions right now. We will talk a lot about them in the course of the year. We've posted a sentence grammar review sheet and a punctuation review sheet up on Moodle, as well as a guide to writing active sentences. If you need to bone up on some of these rules, check these out. Remember, too, that spell check and grammar check are your friends. So I'm just going to end by noting two very common problems I see on student essays of all kinds. One is really random capitalization. For some reason, many students like to throw in extra capital letters. Capitalize specific names, places, titles, what we call proper nouns. Don't capitalize anything else. The other error I see all the time is run-on sentences. Now, I copied this sentence directly from a student essay that was handed in years ago when I was teaching AP European History. It's a classic run-on. There are two reasonably clear sentences here, but they've mysteriously morphed into a single, rather incomprehensible sentence, and you'll see how I fixed it. Even more common form of run-on sentence is what is called a comma splice, a sentence that combines two or more complete clauses with a single comma that splices these clauses together. I think the reason these are so common is that students for some reason think that they should write long sentences, and they just keep writing and eventually throw in a period. Anyway, here's a reminder of the basic rules about how to avoid a comma splice run-on. Remember that periods are your friends. Also, try mixing up your sentence styles and lengths. And in case of doubt, use a period rather than a comma. So that's more than enough for now. On with the rebellion.